Heyo! Welcome to Team SNG Deck Profile, guys. This here is going to be an update of the Metaphys Deck Profile seen previously on the channel. Link to the original profile is going to be in the description down below. Make sure you guys are subscribers, so click that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below, and hit those like buttons. It tells me you guys enjoy what you see. Also, with all this going on in the world, make sure everyone's staying safe. You know, wash your hands, so on and so forth. And keep an eye out for the Facebook group. We are going to be starting one. It should be up and running by the time this video goes live. The link will be in the description below. The minute it is up and running, we'll also have it attached to the channel description. So, basically what this is an update of the Metaphys Deck Profile. The whole goal of this deck is to restrict your opponent's access to the grave. You gain benefits off of cards like Gren Majus and Necroface, being in big bodies that are normal summonable. Certain removal for monsters tends to state that the monster needs to be special summoned. Because these are normal summonable beat sticks, they can sometimes get around that. So that's really all I got to say about it. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to start off with the monsters. The first monster we're going to talk about is our main play starter, and that is Metaphys Ragnarok. We run 3 copies of him. He's 1500 attack, 1000 defense. When he's normal or special summoned, you manage top 3 cards of your deck. He gains 300 attack for each Metaphys. If he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, what you're going to do is you're going to then special summon from the deck a Metaphys monster. So that'll trigger a lot of big Metaphys monsters who get effects when they're special summoned to the field by Metaphys' effect. The next monster we run is 3 copies of Metaphys Nephthys. Metaphys Nephthys is 2400 attack, 1600 defense. It is the Metaphys monster that allows you to search your deck. So what happens is that this card is banished. During the next standby phase, you shuffle this back into the deck, and you search any Metaphys card. And that's not a once per turn, so you can use multiple Metaphys Nephthys if you manage to banish multiples off in one turn. If this card is special summoned to the field by a Metaphys monster's effect, then you can banish all spell and traps on the field. So it's basically your back row removal, so if you end up against a back row heavy deck like Paleozoic, or Traptrix, or Altergeist, this might be the out that you tend to try to get into as quickly as you can to just remove that back row efficiently. Next is 3 Metaphys Daedalus. Metaphys Daedalus is your monster removal. When he's banished, you can shuffle him back into the extra deck, back into the deck. When he's banished, you can shuffle him back into the deck and banish another Metaphys card, which can pair really well with one of their traps, Metaphys Ascension, which you'll see in a bit. When he's special summoned by a Metaphys monster's effect, he banishes all special summon monsters. So you do kind of have to be a little careful with this because you're likely going to banish off something on your side of the field as well. But at the same time, most of your stuff benefits off of being banished, so it's not the end of the world. The real benefit to it, though, is it will get rid of your big boss monsters on your opponent's side of the field. The last big Metaphys that we run is Metaphys Tyrant Dragon. Now, this is your push for game Metaphys. When he's banished, you can shuffle him back into the deck to special summon a Metaphys monster from your hand. But the other benefit is he's got 2900 attack. If he's special summoned from the deck, if he's special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster, he's unaffected by traps, and he can attack twice. So he's 2900 attack. He can do a total of 5800 attack in one turn effectively if he's special summoned by a Metaphys monster's effect. The final Metaphys card we run is Metaphys Decoy Dragon. Now, this is our Pendulum. Great little card. If it's in the Pendulum scale or on the field as a monster, it has the exact same effect, which is that you can banish this card to special summon one of your banished Metaphys monsters whenever your opponent declares an attack. So this lets you bring back your big Metaphys that you banish so that you can continue to block off your opponent and stop them from getting to your life points. Also, while it's banished, during the next standby phase, it will special summon itself from the banished pile. So that can be extremely useful because it does allow you to bring back it allows you to cycle him every turn, meaning that your opponent has to find a way to get through your big monsters every turn. Also, because the effect doesn't trigger till he's banished, when he special summons something like Metaphys Daedalus or Metaphys Nephthys, they still count as being special summoned by a Metaphys monster rather than a Metaphys spell, because he is banished, turning him back into a monster, even if he's activated from the Pendulum Scale. That does it, as I said, it does it for our Metaphys lineup. We have a few other cards that are just sort of banish deck goodness. First is 2 copies of Aloof Lupine. This is a play starter. You don't really want to have to rely on this, but this is a secondary normal summon. So if you have this in your hand, there are some interesting things you can do with it, but for the most part, you don't really want to go into this. It's only here if you can't get to your Metaphys Ragnarok. We also run 3 copies of Gren Majus. Giant Beat Stick, 400 attack for every banished card. This deck can banish off half of the deck in one turn. It can also banish off a good chunk of the opponent's deck using the next card on our list. So this card can be a massive beater that your opponent has to then deal with. The card that banishes off your opponent's deck is, of course, 3 copies of Necroface. I'm so glad this is back to 3. It's really fun to hit a Necroface off of a Necroface, and then hitting the third Necroface. Being able to banish 5 cards off of both yours and your opponent's deck every time you manage to banish off a Necroface is incredible. And also the fact that you can normal summon this to recoup the entire game, set the game back to 0 effectively, and put yourself in a situation where this is a massive body your opponent has to deal with. Doesn't come up often, but at the same time, it is a good backup play. Yes, I have 2 super rares and a common. My other super rare is on its way. Finally, the only hand trap this deck needs, 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. Being able to turn off your opponent's graveyard is an incredible move, and also turning off your own graveyard is an incredible move. So you benefit from everything that gets banished, your opponent doesn't. This is a great way to sort of, if you end up seeing this in your first opening 5, it's a great way to limit your opponent's potential while maximizing your own. On to the spells. So, the first spell we run is 2 copies of Metaphys Factor. I think in the old deck we were only running 1 copy of this. I didn't totally understand the value behind it. I kind of got the whole point of being able to normal summon your big beaters, get rid of bricks in your hand, but at the end of the day, I honestly believe that having 2 copies of this is better than having 1, because it does also stop your opponent from interacting with your Ragnarok. So if you have this in your opening hand, you activate this, you normal summon your Ragnarok, your opponent isn't going to be able to do anything to stop you from banishing those 3 cards, meaning that you're getting your engine running. And the other Metaphys spell card that we run is 3 copies of Metaphys. Now, Metaphys is a really good sort of little disruption card, especially if you have Decoy Dragon on the field. Banishing off Decoy Dragon during your opponent's battle phase and switching all their stuff to defense position can be really useful. It's also draw power for the deck. It lets you banish off cards from your hand, a Metaphys card from your hand, to draw a card. Again, with Metaphys Ascension, this can be really good because of what that does. We'll get to that when we get to the traps. But Metaphys is a really valuable card for this deck to have. It's also not a hard once per turn, meaning if you've got multiple copies on the field, the power degrade to your opponent is multiplied. And but you do have to be careful, because if you have if you have 2 copies on the field at any given time, then changing the battle phase will change the monsters to defense and then back to attack. So it sort of undoes itself. So you do need to sort of try and have 3, but 3 or 1 is optimal to have on the board. Now the deck does have a little bit of breakage issues, so we run the best draw card for this sort of deck. We run 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires, typical banish 10, draw 2. Banishing 10 helps Gren Majus, it helps Necroface, it helps everything. So it doesn't matter that the stuff's being banished upside down, because it does still power up your stuff. Now, we also run 1 copy of Dimensional Fissure, because it's at 1. I cannot wait for this to come back to 2 or 3, but it's never going to happen. 1 copy of Gold Sarcophagus, again, because it's at 1. again. 2 or 3 would be nice, but it's not going to happen. Now, another change from the old profile. Somebody suggested to me that I should be running Left Arm Offering. And they're absolutely right. What this does is it lets you banish your hand. If you have 2 or more cards in your hand, you banish your hand, and you search out a spell. So what I tend to search out is Dimensional Fissure, meaning that you are running 3 copies of Dimensional Fissure with Left Arm Offering. And because you're banishing stuff from your hand, you're also building up your resources in the banish pile. That does it for the spell cards. Let's get on to the traps. So, we've mentioned it a couple times. We run 3 copies of Metaphys Ascension. Metaphys Ascension, super powerful. If you put it on the field, which you're not really going to want to do that often, but it has definitely got its uses on the field, you can discard a Metaphys card, draw a card, and then banish a Metaphys card monster from your deck. So, this can sort of help you set up your banish pile, and it also is draw power because it does let you dig into your deck a bit. But at the end of the day, not really using this for that effect. You're using it for its second effect, which is if this card is banished, search a Metaphys card and add it to your hand. So what you typically are going to do is say you have Metaphys on the field and this in your hand, you're going to banish Metaphys Ascension to get Metaphys' draw effect, and in exchange you're also going to get a search off of that. Or if you have Daedalus banished, you might shuffle Daedalus back to banish this, and that'll also give you a search off of this. So that's why we run 3 copies of this. It's just so that we can guarantee we're going to see it at least once. Then we run 1 copy of Metaphys Dimension. Metaphys Dimension is a really useful card. If your opponent was to special summon a monster, what you can do is you get to target one of your banished Metaphys monsters and special summon that. If any of your Metaphys monsters were to be banished while this card's face up on the field, you would get to banish a monster off of your opponent's side of the field. So this is sort of an interruption card. Very good in this deck. But we only run 1 because, frankly, you're winning by other means. Finally, we run 1 copy of Macrocosmos. Again, much like Dimensional Fissure, would love to run more, but it's at 1, so I can only run 1 copy of that. So, onto the extra deck. The extra deck is really unnecessary in this deck. It's a bunch of generic-ish banish help, but at the end of the day, it's not an actual necessity. There is 1 card that can be useful, and that is Barricade Board Blocker. The whole reason we run this is because Link 2, but it protects your spells and traps. So you're not going to go into it very often, but if your opponent's likely to play something that's going to give you some trouble by like removing your Metaphys, or it's going to remove your Metaphys Factor, or any of your back row that maybe you don't want removed, like your Dimensional Fissure or your Macrocosmos, this can protect those. We run 2 copies of Hippo Shinigami because everything is light. We run a small Nightmare package with Phoenix, Cerberus, and Unicorn. Just spot removal. We run Zeraboros. Zeraboros is really good. It basically is banish everything. So it can be really useful if you special summon something to zone it points to, you banish everything. So if you were to special summon something, say, I don't know, Metaphys Nephthys to this zone, make this chain link 1, Nephthys chain link 2, banish off everything. Everything gets banished off anyway. So this can just be useful. It can also put your opponent in a tight situation. We run a small rank 4 Utopia package because Ragnarok is level 4. Sometimes it comes up, but not very often. We run 1 Angel of Zera because once it's banished, it comes back. And 1 HGS Simoth because it's basically DD Warrior Lady, but a bit bigger. And finally, we do run 1 Metaphys extra deck card, and that is Metaphys Horus. Metaphys Horus, the only way really to make this is to use Metaphys Ragnarok and Metaphys Decoy Dragon. because you're using an effect, not an effect and a pendulum monster, you gain 2 effects off of this. The effect monster effect is that you can target a face-up card on the field and negate its effects, so you can turn off one of your opponent's effects. And the other thing is the pendulum monster lets you target an opponent's monster and take control of it. So, again, the whole extra deck with this, don't go into it very often, but being able to take something from your opponent can be really useful. Test hands. As you can see, the deck has been nicely shuffled. We're going to do 3 test hands with this deck, see how we do. We're going to make them all going first, because typically you want to go first with this deck due to the speed and the fact that everything sort of actually ends up happening on your opponent's turn anyway. This here is going to act as our field center, so we got 2 extra monster zones over there and there. And oops, almost forgot. Extra deck. Extra deck's going to sit right here for us. Deck, here we go. Left Arm Offering, that's not a bad start. Gren Majus, that's not a bad start. Metaphys, that's a really good card to have. Decoy Dragon, and Metaphys Deck. So this isn't the optimal opening, but it's not a bad opening by any means. What we're typically going to do in this sort of opening is we're going to start by activating our Metaphys. That'll let us get a draw off. We're going to activate Metaphys and banish Decoy Dragon, which will then recur itself next turn. And then we'll get to draw the top card of the deck, which is another Gren Majus. That's a bit unfortunate, but c'est la vie. Then we're going to activate Left Arm Offering, banish off the top 3, banish off the rest of our hand. I understand that we've just banished off 2 Gren Majus, which is upsetting, but it does then allow us to search for Dimensional Fissure. We could also potentially search for Gold Sarcophagus, which could give us a better opening. I think in this case, because we have no monsters on field, Gold Sarcophagus may be the better opening. Yeah, we're going to go with Gold Sarcophagus because we have nothing on field to help us out. And so what we're going to want to try and do is banish off as much of our opponent's deck to limit their options, and also potentially put ourselves in a situation where we banish off a Tyrant Dragon, which means on our opponent's turn we can search for something and special summon it using Tyrant Dragon. So we then activate our Gold Sarc, and we banish off one of our Necrofaces, which we will then recur later, which is even better. So we've given that a shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's nice because that has given us a search as well with Metaphys Ascension. So now we can actually search for Ragnarok. Normal summon the Ragnarok, banish off the top 3 of the deck. So we got 1 hit on that, meaning Ragnarok sits at 1800. Give him a little token just to remind ourselves he got 1 hit off of that. So he's sitting at 1800, which isn't the biggest of bodies, but during our opponent's turn, we are going to get 1, 2 searches, and we're going to also be able to special summon back our Decoy Dragon, which will then let us if our opponent declares an attack, special summon back one of our Ragnaroks. So that wasn't terrible. It was a subpar opening because we didn't draw into Ragnarok or Aloof Lupine, so none of our main normal summons were there, but that's fine. I would also like to point out, with this opening, we managed to banish off of our deck 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cards, and off of our opponents we managed to banish 5, so that's a total of 18 cards have been banished. If we were to then draw into our third Gren Majus or our Necroface, we would shuffle things back into the deck, and that would be really, really powerful, and that would cause us to have some big bodies on board. Alright, so that was test hand number 1. We're going to go for number 2. Give it a quick cut. Alright, top 5 cards. Okay, so this isn't a bad opening. It is a bit unfortunate that we've drawn into both of our normal summons, but I'm not going to cry my eyes out about that. What we're going to typically do is normal summon our Ragnarok, because that's still our best opener. Banish off top 3. So no hits, that's unfortunate. We're going to set our Metaphys Ascension, and we're going to activate and scale our Metaphys Decoy Dragon. Then on our opponent's turn, we can activate Metaphys Ascension, pitch and Tyrant Dragon to draw 1, which is a Metaphys Nephthys. And we can banish off a Metaphys monster, so we're typically going to want to banish off in this situation. Will probably be Metaphys Daedalus, because that way we can special summon Daedalus back with Decoy Dragon, and that'll banish off all special summon monsters when our opponent enters their battle phase. So, again, a bit of a unfortunate opening, although this deck often feels like there's unfortunate openings, and you can actually play through things quite well. So, that does it for 2. Let's go for test hand number 3. Now, if you do get a Aloof Lupine and a Necroface, that's actually really good, because what you can do is you can use Aloof Lupine, banish 1 Necroface from the hand and 1 Necroface from the deck. And I think in most situations where you have that, and it's that of a Ragnarok, I would probably do that. Speak of the devil. What do you know? That there is a very nice opening. We're going to get ourselves Dimensional Fissure off of that. And we're going to get the Banished 10 off of the Aloof Lupine Necroface combo that I just mentioned. So we're going to normal summon our Aloof Lupine, banish our Necroface, and banish a Necroface from the deck. Which means that from our opponent and our deck, we banish the top 10 cards. And if we hit the third Necroface, then we're both banishing a total of 15 cards. Which won't help our opponent, but will definitely help us. So, that's 1 Metaphys. That's 1 that's 1 Necroface. That's a search. So we've hit the third Necroface as well, and we get a search off the Metaphys Ascension. I would likely go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, so that you can get your search off and not banish off all of the pieces that you might require for your search. So you would search out in a situation like this because you intend to banish off your hand anyway. I would likely be searching out Nephthys, so that we have Nephthys to banish. we're going to banish off another 5. Okay, so Metaphys Ascension is a hard once per turn. We don't get another search off of that. It's not like Nephthys. But at the end of the day, we are in a really good boat. We have banished off pretty much a large chunk of our deck, and we've also gotten very lucky that we haven't hit that Dimensional Fissure, meaning it is still in our hand for the Left Arm Offering. So at this point, we're then going to activate our Left Arm Offering. We're going to banish off the remaining 3 cards in our hand. Might activate... Actually, at this point, we're going to activate Dimension Shifter, pitching Dimension Shifter so that our opponent doesn't have access to their graveyard on their turn. Then we're going to also activate Left Arm Offering and banish off the rest of our hand to search out our Dimensional Fissure. Activate our Dimensional Fissure, and now we're in really good shape. On our opponent's turn during their standby phase, we are going to be getting 1 banish, 1 search, 2 banishes, special summon. Yeah, so we're going to get to special summon back a Decoy Dragon. We're going to get to banish 2 Metaphys cards, and we're going to get to search a Metaphys card from our deck. I also believe we do have a remaining Metaphys Ascension, so we could banish that off with one of the data lists so that we can get a second search. But in most cases, we're probably going to be quite happy with banishing off, because what we'll banish off is Tyrant Dragon, and we will special summon something. We'll search out probably one of our data lists that gets shuffled back into the deck. So that's a really good opening. I quite like that. We've got Dimension Fissure locking our opponent out of their graveyard. We've also got Dimension Shifter locking them out of our graveyard, so if they do find a way to get rid of Fissure, Shifter is keeping us safe. We also have a total of 1, 2, 3 cards that are going to shuffle themselves back into the deck, and we're going to get some searches off of that. So at the end of the day, this is a really nice opening. It opened well. Aloof Lupine plus Necroface is a really powerful combo. So we're going to move on to the final thoughts, and yeah. So I haven't actually had a chance to try this deck out since the last time I profiled it, but the last time I profiled it, it had one of locals, so I do definitely think that the updates to this deck have made this deck more consistent and more powerful, and therefore I still think it could easily win a locals. Potentially it could make some waves at a regionals, but I think it's a really fun deck. It's really interesting. I think the way that it utilizes the Metaphys engine, but also still gains some power from Necroface being back at 3 to banish off half of your opponent's deck, and Gren Majus being around to gain benefit off of every card that's banished. This deck can really cause trouble for the opponents. Running these 2 makes it so that your opponents have to always be aware of the fact their graveyard may not be accessible to them. So your opponent sort of has to try and find a way to play around the fact they're not going to necessarily have access to the graveyard. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the profile. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the test hands. And at the end of the day, I hope you're all staying safe. So I will be seeing you guys at the next profile.